Hello dear friends, Namaskaram. Today I'm delivering one of the promises to talk about Arangetram. Before we go, I want to tell you, please share your requests. What would you like to see apart from the dance videos, apart from adavus, items, vinyogas and mudras? These I am uploading at my own pace, but I am uploading. But maybe you would like to know something else, like my experience as a foreigner in India, or how's studying Kalamandalam taking place for foreigners, because it's different for foreigners than for natives. And how did I get to know about Indian classical dance? What is the scene of Indian classical dance abroad? And any other thing that you want to ask, I'll be very, very happy to deliver. And yes, I do promise to keep up with steady upload of all the adavus and Kalamandalam classical items. On the way, there will be a couple of experimental choreographies. And I know many of you told me about vinyogams. You want to see those. I have to record it. Please be patient, because I am the only one who is now doing these videos. Miu is gone back to Thailand. Now she's quarantined in her country because of the situation after having flown from India. So I'm recording my videos on my own, and I'm editing them on my own, and sometimes the sound doesn't work, so the whole video has to be re-recorded. Sometimes something else doesn't work. If anybody of you wants to show their appreciation of the work I'm doing, I'm open for donations, I'm open for patronage, for sponsorship. So you always can contact me about that. And also I'm giving online Skype classes one-on-one. So about this, you can also contact me, and all the information is below. So, not to talk too much, of course, this video is going to be very lengthy. First of all, let's say, what is an Arangetram? Interesting. Arangetram is a very old concept of a result of interaction of guru-shishya relationship, which is guru and the student relationship. And this relationship was very, very specific throughout the Indian history. And until now, the elements of it have been preserved in the society and in this teaching style. So in the ancient old times, how did the guru-shishya relationship work? So most of the time, if we abstract even from dance or music, there were all kind of studies that were given by the guru. So the students most commonly were given to the guru to live with him, to basically become adopted by him or her. And the relationship was not like a study pedagogical curriculum. It was a very, very personal bond, which included the emergence of the student into the lifestyle of the teacher. And this way they were just naturally drawing and adopting all the elements of Guru's life, including the Guru's knowledge, including the Guru's art form, if we talk about art studies, right? So let's say there is a small girl, like, let's say we call her devadasi, even though now there is a lot of argument about devadasi and that it's a very generic term about whether it applies to temple dancers or courtesans or street dancers or even a prostitute. So now researchers are actually careful using this term devadasis, but nevertheless, generically it means the girls who at some level were dedicated either to the temple or they were serving at the court as the court dancers, as the courtesans, or sometimes they were even providing, let's say, sexual services to their clients, which is not for us to judge, because at that time it was totally different social situation and totally different morality, and the judgment should come from the understanding of that society rather than from our current moral premise. Nevertheless, the talk today is not about that. So we are taking the figure of this little Devadasi girl. She's coming to Guru and she starts learning from him. She lives with him. Or she spends considerable time of the day with him. Maybe she has to sweep the floor, maybe she needs to clean the idols, maybe she needs to do some kind of ceremonies. And slowly, she is given a training in dance, and she observes how all the ritualistic aspect is happening, and slowly she is growing into it. So when does the guru finally allow her to go and perform? This was up to a guru to decide, and most commonly it was a personal, once again, understanding of the guru, because we know it's all relative. Somebody might think, okay, you're ready, you're totally a great dancer. Another one would be more on the technical side, and they would no, this is not polished enough, this movement. It's all depends on the personality of your teacher. So some teachers are more about expression on the stage or in the temple, if we talk about the temple. Other teachers are about technical perfection. Sometimes teachers are somewhere in between, but let's say the guru, based on his or her understanding of readiness, says, okay, girl, now you're ready, you can be a dancer. So what is next? Next is coming Arangetram. This is the first solo performance where this girl is finally wearing her chalanga, the bells, and she's finally going to the stage. And stage is a really broad sense. It can be something else, right? Maybe her performance was on the street or her performance was at the temple premise, but this kind of performance space, and there are audience, there are musicians, maybe some scholars, because at some point of history Indian classical dance was really appreciated on a very high society level, scholarly level. So all of them are coming and watching her dance. And so this kind of trial, the trial of the first performance, is both for the guru's reputation and for the girls. But in any case, it's kind of like a check mark. After this performance, you are ready to go and perform in another spaces. You're ready even to evolve as an individual artistic entity where you can develop on your own. You're not a student anymore, even though you keep on being student all your life. In Indian classical dances, you never stop learning. You have your basics and you keep on learning, and there is endless scope of learning. One life is not enough, trust me. But at least you reach the level where you can say, okay, this part of my studentship where it's only between me and guru, it's over. Now I'm ready to express and to give my knowledge to the world. So this kind of attitude, this kind of, let's say, symbol is preserved until now. Well, if we talk about guru-shishya tradition in India now, it doesn't exist. Maybe some elements of it exist. Maybe somewhere on a bigger scale, maybe in some ashrams, right? Somewhere on a smaller scale, the elements do exist. But as a wholesome concept, hardly exists. If you know anybody who still teaches in guru-shishya tradition, please let me know. I'm very curious to know. Because even Kalamandalam is considered to be a Gurukula type of school. But I want to tell you, no, it's not. It's a government institution that has a certain curriculum, that teaches according to curriculum. And yes, it's a residence school, so the students live there, so they spend considerable amount of time with the teachers, but it's not the guru-shishya tradition as we used to read in the epics. No, it's a school with some elements of guru-shishya tradition. So then, having adopted the education system to the modern demands, some things were still preserved. And actually it fits Indian classical dance to preserve certain elements, especially because Indian classical dance represents some really old, archaic, traditional aspects of learning and performance. So Arangetram was one of the things which was and still is practiced in Indian classical dance and music learning. Nowadays, there are lots of arguments about the need of Arangetram. Why? First of all, the pro of it, of course, that we follow the tradition. This is a good point. We are following the tradition. We are maybe touching this romanticized concept of Indian classical dance and music, very close to the mention and concept of Vedas, of Vedic knowledge and Vedic lifestyle. Because historically, we can argue that dance and music have not been in that kind of straightforward link to the Vedic lifestyle. It was a very non-straightforward and very, multifaceted phenomenon. So we can't directly say, okay, this is Natya Shastra and this is a dance. So they're both very closely linked and connected. There are some connections, but these connections have been actually enhanced during the Indian independence movement. So previously, those connections were not that strong and not that evident, even though they have always existed. So Arangetram is one of the attempts to preserve an old style art form and adopt it into modern and postmodern reality. So then the criticism for the Arangetram comes from the point that it costs a lot of money. It became a very, very commercial activity. And whoever had Arangetram from my audience, can you please share your experience about your Arangetram? When did you have it? How did you have it? Was it expensive? Was it not expensive? And do you think it's worth it? Do you think it's not? Because if we think in a classical form, arranging a solo performance for one student, you can imagine you need to hire a stage, you need to hire at least 3 musicians, and they get a proper salary because they need to have rehearsals with you beforehand and the performance itself. Then you have to give guru dakshana, which is actually classically doesn't have any specific amount, but gurus kind of imply that they want to receive a lot of money for this Arangetram. They want beautiful saris, sometimes gold earrings. There is no limit to express your appreciation, and gurus sometimes suggest that the students should express this kind of appreciation. So then sometimes an Arangetram affair becomes a really, really costly one, especially if the student lives not in India, but abroad. Let's say they live in the UK, or they live in Europe, or in the United States. Then sometimes musicians have to be brought from abroad. And then, of course, the money equivalent is very different, because salaries in Europe and UK are much higher, right, than they're in India. So the musician would get like, they would demand like a proper salary. And actually, I'll tell you one interesting episode, because as you know, I'm giving online classes, and at the moment I'm getting lots of inquiries about how and what and how much does it cost and what kind of syllabus we will follow. First of all, I want to tell you that it's a very individual syllabus. I don't teach everyone the same way. I kind of try to understand what you need, and I craft it for you. But it's a side topic. One of the inquiries once I got was from a girl. She was curious about actually Arangetram and how will I arrange an Arangetram for her. And I'm like, well, you know, since it's an online class and you are based in one country and I'm based in a totally different country, I guess Arangetram would not be a very, how to say, guaranteed affair between us. So we will have to figure it out somehow. Okay, if you really, really need it, there are options of having an online performance, which is now becoming a new standard, basically, in this kind of pandemic situation. Or alternatively, of course, there is a possibility of either of us traveling to another country, or there is an alternative to the alternative of traveling of one of us to another country, which of course is very costly. So I guess she was not happy with my reply, because I will explain to you why. What is Arangetram now? It became like a certificate that you could put on the wall and show it to your aunties, aunts, and cousins, and very often it does not reflect your real knowledge. Sometimes gurus push their students into Arangetrams when even I would say they're not ready. And I'm really, really democratic in my appreciation of people performing on stage. I'm not like at all keeping a super perfectionist standard. I think I'm more towards self-expression, but somewhere in between, I still believe that the kind of body perfection of the movement at least should be to the minimal point, right? So sometimes I see the students are not ready on either of these parts. They're not ready to express themselves. They don't feel comfortable. They haven't developed the body language. At the same time, also they don't have the technique. So it becomes like they just come out, they just show something, and they get nice photos, nice videos. Their parents spend lots of money, and then everyone is happy. It's like you arrange one marriage for your daughter before she gets married, and we know marriage is a very, very expensive activity in India. Well, pandemic again is changing everything. Now people are getting married in a very, very close circle. They don't need to invite 1,000 guests, etc. So, but yes, nevertheless, so this is two pros and cons, but definitely what I see the biggest pro about Arangetram is that symbolically it represents you stepping into the world of art. It doesn't matter if you will continue or not, because actually the sad truth about Indian classical dance here in India, that most of the girls after their Arangetram stop their practice. They have beautiful pictures and videos in their albums, but they don't dance anymore. They get married, they go on with their life, and this is life. I mean, it's not that like we are committed to the art form for the rest of our life. If we have other priorities, definitely we will go with them. Somebody might go still into this artistic area, but symbolically this represents that you have reached the level where you can choose either to go forward with the art form or maybe not. maybe keep it as a side hobby or something. But at least you have this choice. You're no longer just like, this puppy student that looks at the teacher like this and whatever they say. You have your artistic individuality. Symbolically, Arangetram signifies that, at least for me. I know it's not always happening this way. But so when I came to Kalamandalam, I was really excited about the prospect of the Arangetram, even though I haven't been thinking about it for a really long time. Actually, if somebody knows my story a little bit, I came to Kalamandalam by ICCR scholarship. It's an Indian Council on Cultural Relations, and it's considered to be a really prestigious scholarship to study Indian classical art forms. And I came to study Bharatanatyam. I didn't know much about Mohiniyattam. It's not at all famous in the world, unfortunately. Well, Bharatanatyam is kind of more showy. On the surface, it's much more acceptable by the public, by the audience. But I believe Mohiniyattam has this kind of intrinsic value, which takes time to understand. So not everyone takes this time and effort. That's why I guess it's still like mostly locally famous, I would say, than world famous. But yes, so I came to learn Bharatanatyam and I saw Mohiniyattam and girls dancing Mohiniyattam, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. But you should know me, especially my state of mind when I came to India. I was like afraid of everything. I'm a kind of person who is prone to different phobias, but at that time I'm in a new country. I've never been to India and everything is new, and at the same time I was never actually encouraged by most of my teachers in dance. Like actually most of them thought like I'm not a good dancer or something, or at least this is a pedagogical style in Belarus, Russia. Teachers are very strict. Very rarely they express appreciation, and most commonly they express criticism. And my kind of mindset, I was taking their criticism literally. So I was believing I'm kind of incapable, even though I really loved dancing. I really loved feeling the movement in my body, but I didn't have this motivation inside me. The only teacher that was really motivating me was my guru in Sweden. She's a Kalakshetra teacher, Usha Balasundaram, and until now I'm really, really grateful to her, because I think only because of her I actually did go to India, because she made me believe that, like, yes, you dance, you have it in you. And she would use all these beautiful metaphors, like you dance like a flower. And like, oh my gosh, nobody told me like that. My Belarusian teacher would tell me that I have crappy steps or crappy movement, like literally this kind of really rude language she would be using. So my Swedish teacher actually, yes, gave me faith in myself, and because of her, understood how important it is to encourage people, because it's so easy to criticize, but it's so hard to actually help people believe in themselves. But so still, I was not very, very confident when I came, and I was like, oh, should I try Mohiniyattam? Should I not? I was kind of postponing it, and I was studying Bharatanatyam, and my scholarship was for 3 years, and third year is actually approaching, and nobody is offering me Arangetram. And I'm like, oh, okay. Actually, any foreigner who's planning to go and study in Kalamandalam, especially if you're going to study in dance department, you have to be very, very demanding. You have to ask for the right teacher. You have to ask for proper classes. If classes get cancelled, you have to go and demand that they're reimbursed. Then you have to go and ask about Arangetram. No one's gonna offer you unless you're super lucky and you get a very, very mindful teacher, which most of the time doesn't happen. When I came to Kalamandalam, I think I had like 4 teachers totally in Kalamandalam, or even 5. Because every year they were changing. I had temporary teachers, and most of the time foreigners are assigned temporary teachers unless you're demanding and you're asking for a permanent teacher. And then every year you change a teacher. And the drama in it is that it takes time to get used to a teacher, to express your vulnerability, to get used to their pedagogical style, to their demands and requirements, to kind of make the process. And by the time this bond was happening, suddenly my teacher resigns and there is a new one coming, and it's starting from the beginning. So that was a really sad part about it. But nevertheless, my learning continued, and I learned almost entire Margam. Margam is a repertoire consisting of 6-7 items in Bharatanatyam, and then no one is offering me Arangetram. And my last teacher was actually a Mohiniyattam teacher, but we were continuing learning Bharatanatyam with her. At the same time, with her, I started learning Mohiniyattam, Kalamandalam. So I kind of asked, so I think I should have an Arangetram. And she didn't even know anything about it, like how are foreigners supposed to have Arangetram? Because they have a certain criteria for local students, because as you know, local students start learning when they're like 13 years old, and they either have Arangetram when they're 16, after like more or less 3 years of study, or during the second year of degree. So okay, I studied for 3 years, so basically it's kind of the same requirement. So she went to HOD, she talked to HOD, and HOD said, head of department, she said, I have to go to the office and write an official request. And I went there, and there was like a huge process of paperwork. But after that, it was approved, and my Bharatanatyam Arangetram was assigned to me, which is very exciting on one hand. On the other, it was a disaster. Why? Because first of all, I'll explain to you my relationship with Bharatanatyam and my relationship with dancing in general. Very few of you actually maybe know that I have a very difficult lifelong condition, and I had several very complicated surgeries, and I live with this condition, and I live with pain, and I'm trying to manage it, and I'm doing my best to manage it. So at that point, when I was learning Bharatanatyam, my pain accelerated very, very much, I guess because of the really harsh stamping that was demanded, and especially in Kalamandalam, the dance training is happening on the concrete floor, which is actually very, very bad. It's not ergonomical for your body. But I guess it is okay since children are learning from early age, so their bodies very easily adapt. But when you come like in your late 20s, in your 30s, it's a totally different approach. And the problem is that teachers most of the time don't understand that in front of you is already a grown-up with a formed body, so they need a more gentle approach. So but still I had this kind of demands from some of my teachers, like stamp harder, stamp, jump higher, and after a while I think I just messed up with some of my pre-existing condition, and I started having horrible pain, which I couldn't even move sometimes, and painkillers wouldn't help, and like I do yoga almost every day, it wouldn't help. I went to one neurosurgeon I was consulting in Amrita Hospital. His name is Dr. Ashok, and with him we had very good personal relationship as well, because he is also a Mridangam artist apart from practicing neurosurgery. So he himself loves Indian art forms, and he really always encouraged me to continue. So I remember I came to him and I said, Dr. Ashok, I think I have to stop dancing. Maybe dancing is not my cup of tea. And he's like, no, what are you saying? Like, how can you say that? He's prescribing me some medication, which actually they give to epileptic people because it acts on the brain. So my brain is cheated. My brain feels like it doesn't feel pain. And I was taking this medication. It was kind of helping, not fully, but it was relieving a significant amount of the pain. And then on the other hand, it had a side effect. It would make my thoughts like a train, super fast express, very, very fast. I have no ability to kind of be still. It's, if you know about bipolar, in bipolar they have manic episodes and depressive episodes. So I guess manic is what this medication was bringing me into. I was like constantly on the move. I can't sit still. I need to talk, to walk, to think, to do something. And it was like, but at the same time, you can't pause and reflect and introspect. So then, because Arangetram was happening in Mohiniyattam, most of the people have it in Mohiniyattam, only sometimes girls have in Bharatanatyam, but in my case they gave permission to give a solo performance, because as you must understand, in institutions you don't have to pay for the stage, for the musician, and this is a good part about such institutions as Kalamandalam or Kalakshetra. You don't have to spend like you would spend for the wedding for your Arangetram, because the school takes care of it. But then on the other hand, you are not given a solo performance of 1 hour. No, you just perform in 2 items, and most of the time it's in a group, and that's your Arangetram. In my case, it was different because I was performing Bharatanatyam, and on that day there were no Bharatanatyam Arangetrams. So I had to do 2 items solo, and they actually told me I should do Alaripu, but because of my horrible pain, Alaripu was simply not possible, especially Murumandi jumps. Like jumps were especially difficult for me. So then, okay, we decided Ganesha Stuti and Murugam Padam, Korba Divil, Konda. And we are supposed to prepare and rehearse, and both of these items were the new items. I learned them just before the Arangetram, not like several years ago. And then suddenly, like, things start coming in between me and the rehearsals, and you know how important it is to rehearse. So suddenly, 2 months before the Arangetram, there is a Nila festival. It's a very, very big, grand festival in Kalamandalam, which hosts big artists, where Kalamandalam spends a lot of money and effort to organize it. It's a prestige for them. So, of course, there are no classes during that time, and most of the teachers are also busy in the organization process. So, I'm having no class in the end of November. Then December is Kalamandalam exams coming. I'm having no class in December, hardly any. Then suddenly, in January, there is a big strike happening. For 2 weeks, there is a strike just before the Arangetram. More than that, my teacher Shalini, she is getting married. And she's not even sure she will be present on my Arangetram. And I'm like, I'm totally unrehearsed, and of course I'm a little bit practicing at home, but practicing at home and practicing with musicians, it's a totally different story, because with musicians you need to understand them, and they understand you, and you kind of closely watch each other. It's a very, very intricate interaction happening with you and the orchestra. So it's basically almost 1 week before my Arangetram, no rehearsals. They're even thinking to postpone it, but luckily they didn't, because postponing it would mean like basically it would be a breakdown of so many students who were already invited, all their families to come from all across India. And so 3 days before the Arangetram, they're deciding, okay, Arangetram will happen. And we have 3 days of rehearsals. And I'm coming to Koothambalam. The rehearsals were in Koothambalam. And my teacher was not even there. She was getting ready for her wedding. And yes, we were doing these items. And I'm like, I understand I'm not ready. Like, I can't understand. I for these 3 years I studied in Kalamandalam, I never performed. So I'm just like, I don't understand how to attune to these live musicians. I don't understand how to even relax on the stage. And taking this medication that I was taking and being with constant pain was also not helping. And so I was like, just lost. Honestly, I was just lost. And then on the same day of Arangetram, my mom was coming, and I had to arrange a taxi for her from the airport, everything. So I was just in this kind of out zone out. My costume was stitched in Trishur, and they did so many blunders, like I wouldn't be able to sit properly in Aramandi because they didn't put enough pleats. I had to go to Trishur constantly to modify it. So there was one big, let's say, unfortune with my first Arangetram in Kalamandalam. So then when Arangetram Day is actually coming, my teacher Shalini, even though it was like a couple of days before her marriage, she came to support me, and it was so lovely of her. And she also offered to do makeup on me, and she did everything, but she put lots of kajal inside my eyes. And as I already told in one of the videos, my eyes are very sensitive. Like if something is in, I can't keep them open, they keep on blinking. So on one hand, it was really pretty. My face was painted like a doll, and I had the natural jasmine in my hair, but it was very uncomfortable. And on the other hand, I'm having severe anxiety, almost panic attack. And I'm coming backstage to the Koothambalam, and they're about to start with Mohiniyattam. And I'm seeing that all other girls are on the same boat. Like some girls are even vomiting because they're that stressed. One of the girls vomited on the newspaper. The journalist gave me a newspaper where they had an interview with me, but it's gone because they wiped her vomit. And but then on the other hand, when they go out on the stage, they're fine, because they come out as a group, at least 15 students, 10-15 students on the stage, and then you kind of blend in and you feel the group energy. But my turn is to come alone, and I'm coming out alone, and I just understand I don't even remember which item I'm dancing, which step is supposed to be next. I remember sometimes you get into this zone out state, especially with me, it's very common. My brain gets some brain fog, and I'm just like zone out. I don't exist in this world. I travel across universes. Okay, then I come back. Once I come back, I'm realizing I'm already on stage, and they're a musician, and Mridangam is already playing the first beat, and I missed that beat just because I was so zoned out. And then my heart is beating like a rabbit. Seriously, there is a rabbit inside my heart, and I'm starting to dance. I see, my first dance was Ganesha Stuti. I see my hands are shaking. I can't even sit properly in Aramandi. I'm shaking, and there were a couple of poses where I have to keep balance. The balance is non-existent. It was so bad, like honestly. Then the second item was Murugan Padam, and it was same bad, but maybe it wasn't horrible, but I guess it wasn't the Kalamandalam standard. And but so when it was over, I was actually feeling really bad about myself. And you know how it is, right? Like some people maybe were thinking like, it's all right, she did fine, she did okay. But like when you're hard on yourself, and I was hard on myself because I know I can do better, but just because all these circumstances worked kind of against me, like first of all, like I was in pain, I was in medication, we didn't have proper rehearsals before the Arangetram. There was a lot of like arrangement which I just had to do on my own because nobody was there to help me, and it just made me like really feeling bad about myself. And so after the Arangetram, I was very down. I was very down for several days. But then I received the videos and the photos, and video was fine. I'm dancing like fine for a person who practiced Bharatanatyam for 3 years, 2.5 actually. And it's all good, but when you can do better, then and especially when it's such a big event. But then there was one newspaper review, or two newspaper reviews actually, and both of them spoke good about my performance. So but this didn't satisfy me, and I was just devastated for a really long time. But then, of course, after that, my Arangetram was, as I was saying, sometimes it is a continuation of journey, sometimes it's the stop of your journey. I guess it was a stop of my learning Bharatanatyam. I got my basics and I still keep on performing Bharatanatyam, but I'm not emphasizing on it anymore. And I understood it's traumatic for my body, my type of body. It's not a very ergonomic dance form, unfortunately. It doesn't suit everyone. So I completely switched to Mohiniyattam. And I guess there was a blessing in disguise there, because only because of these obstacles that everything was working against me dancing Bharatanatyam, I understood how much in love I am with Mohiniyattam, how much I like how my body feels when I'm dancing it. Not only how it looks for the audience, but how it feels. I just love all these waves inside my body. I love that I have time actually to introspect while dancing. So this whole switch started happening and I decided to stay in Kalamandalam longer. I was like, of course, cursing myself that all these 3 years I could have been learning Bharatanatyam and Mohiniyattam simultaneously, but I didn't. So I at least now I'll make like a proper switch to Mohiniyattam and I will learn Mohiniyattam. So Kalamandalam Shalini was my teacher in Mohiniyattam, and thanks to her, I learned almost entire old repertoire of Kalamandalam, such items as Pannagendra, Sri Varnams, and most of the padams, Tilanas. So actually, I was planning to go into a degree, to study degree in Kalamandalam or even PG. But once again, if you're a foreigner and you're thinking about this, you will be a bit disappointed. It's really hard to get into official study program, because for us foreigners they have short course, they call it. Even though some people stay there for 10 years, it's still a short course. So it's not the same syllabus they give to the local students. And I wanted to get a proper degree or PG, but then they were saying, come next year. They wouldn't even admit me for an interview or give me, like, I submitted the papers, but they wouldn't leave the table of the officer for 2 months. And then after 2 months, they would say, oh, sorry, it's too late. Interview has passed already. Let's do next year. And then next year, the same thing is repeated. And then next year, the same thing is repeated. So I kind of gave up trying to get into Kalamandalam normal program. But when the first year I was trying to get into degree, I was trying to learn all Kalamandalam items in the degree. So it was a very fast forward process and I learned a lot during that time. And I guess that's next year. After that, my teacher Shalini got pregnant and she already left her temporary position. I was Sujatha teacher student at that time. And then and her students were supposed to have an Arangetram actually. And I came up and say, yes, I want to have Arangetram with them too. I know the same syllabus they know, and I've been practicing with them for some time because I've been having regular classes with them, apart from their practices in regular university where they take theory. I've been taking all practical classes with them. And so once again, I was directed to the office to write an application form. And then I wrote that application form and I got approved. And then the question was how to make me do my Arangetram, because they wouldn't let me do a solo piece here since all girls are doing the group piece and everyone is doing Mohiniyattam and I was also doing Mohiniyattam. So, and then on the other hand, they were dancing both technical items such as Choloketu and Tilana, Danashri, and Abhinay items such as Padam and Varnam. And I'm really tall, trust me, I'm like super tall compared to Indian girls. So all these technical items like Choloketu, where you have to move across stage to create all these patterns, I didn't fit there just because they couldn't arrange me with anybody of equal height. So the teacher, the head of department, immediately said, sorry, I'm just checking my microphone. Actually, like it's already second time I'm losing my sound. Yes, so the HUD said, okay, you will dance either padam or varnam. The padam was Taruninyan and the Chebu, and you can see this item I recorded for you quite recently. And the varnam would be Manasime, a very beautiful varnam. I like it. You know, there's probably you as an artist, if you as an artist are watching me, you know that some items just musically really speak and connect to you. So that was Manasi Varnam for me. Like, it's one of the items that I'm connecting it. I'm loving it, especially we were rehearsing in Sujatha teacher's class. We were quite a lot dancing with the orchestra, so I kind of got used even to dancing with orchestra more than dancing with the recording music for this particular item. And so I'm thinking, okay, like, so one of these items, in my heart, I dream that I will dance Barnum because it's really long, it's like half an hour long and half an hour on stage. It's almost like a proper Arangetram in all their understanding. But then on the other hand, my teacher Sujatha said, oh, better you get padam. Because, you know, for Malayali people, padam is about expression. You have time to express yourself. And they really love padam. They think it's a very special composition, which people in the West, it's harder for them to appreciate. Not for me, I love padams. I really love padams. But most of my friends who practice Bharatanatyam, let's say in Belarus or in Sweden, they do padams very rarely. It's just like they more movement oriented rather than abhinaya oriented. And I think it's a big difference from East and West in understanding and appreciating Indian classical art forms, that in the East, in India, people do appreciate abhinaya actually more than movement. And I'm really happy about it because padams have this kind of subtlety that is already vanishing from Indian classical dance, especially from Bharatanatyam. Now, Bharatanatyam is very linear and very concrete and very showy. Showy is the word. So majority of artists are actually losing the subtlety. It becomes about acrobatism rather than about, you know, nuances and vulnerability and self-expression, which for me personally as an audience is very important. But I guess not for everyone. Some people like to see, wow, they jump so high. Well, that's taste differ, as we say. So, but in any case, yeah, so my teacher wanted me to get a padam and I wanted to get a varnam. But anyway, teacher said, okay, so you practice 2 items because she'll take her time to decide by the time she decides. And okay, I've been practicing 2 items and it was just like we had so many rehearsals. It was like black and white, my Bharatanatyam Arangetram and my Mohiniyattam Arangetram. I'm getting all the rehearsals and I'm dancing together with girls and I feel how easy it is to dance in a group actually. You can completely let go. You feel there are girls, even if you forget something, you know, sometimes you have this blackout in the head, you just look a little bit, okay, then you readjust yourself. And it's just, in general, it's the energy of the group. But then nobody's telling me which item am I supposed to dance. It's 2 weeks before the Arangetram and I'm coming to HUD and asking her, like, so which dance I'm dancing? And she's saying 2, both items. Apparently, whoever was translating her when I was asking her, they translated and she said, you have to dance padam and varnam. They translated and as or. So they made it either this or that. So that was a translation mismatch. And I'm like, whoa, I'm actually happy because padam is like 15 minutes, varnam is like 30 minutes. So I'm getting almost 1 hour on the stage. And yes, so we had lots of rehearsals and I would come into the hostel and I would practice with girls in the hostel also. And we were very we kind of bonded during that time. And on the day of Arangetram, of course, in the morning, you give dakshana to gurus, but it's not gold. We do give saris. We give on a traditional betel leaf and nut, we give some 100-200 rupees, and that's you give to lots of people. So still, of course, you spend money on that, but the rest, of course, the institution takes care of. And so in the morning we did all the ceremony of giving dakshana and everything. And if for my Bharatanatyam Arangetram, my mom came. She didn't come specifically for Arangetram. She came to the beach, but the time coincided, so she saw that. For my Mohiniyattam Arangetram, there was nobody, like seriously nobody. Only my friend Ian, my dance partner. You can see the videos. We danced together like Ardhanarishwara and Krishna Radha, and we made many experimental pieces with him. So he came. He was like a great support for me. I think the rest of the foreigners even didn't come because they were all traveling, and my Indian friends also couldn't come. So it was like, but I didn't care really. And then, of course, there was a makeup artist with the team invited, and I think makeup cost like something like 1,000 or 2,000 rupees. And but it was not about money. I just didn't want anybody to do my makeup. I don't like how they do makeup in India. They put all these gums which make your eyebrows permanently like this. Then they put huge eyelashes, which vice versa make your eyes close, especially for me. My eyes are sensitive, I already said. And then they put this pancake, which is not breathable. Everybody is the same skin tone. So in the end, you have like a cliche product. Everybody has the same face, which I honestly don't like. I know that some people like it. They think on the stage it's nice when everyone's the same. No, I don't like it. I honestly appreciate individuality also in the makeup. So I like when your natural skin tone comes through. I like when you make your eyes the way you like it, you know. So I said, I'm gonna do my own makeup, and I went for that. I didn't put any kajal inside my eyes, only outside. And actually, I just wanted to feel comfortable. That was so important for me, just to feel comfortable. And so I did everything to feel comfortable. And also by that time, the good news, when I started practicing Mohiniyattam, my pain became manageable. So I was off medication. It was already like almost 1 year I was off medication. So like things were actually in my favor this time, and I was very relaxed. I didn't have this, of course I was a little bit worried. Everyone is worried still. Kalamandalam stage is something we will always be looking up to, you know. And also, yes, one more thing, during my Bharatanatyam Arangetram, Kalamandalam stage was really not fixed. It was very like wobbly, you know. Now they fixed it. Now it's very smooth. It's a pleasure to dance on. But at that time, no, it's like you see some of my videos, I'm dancing in the jungle, and sometimes I'm really unstable because you can't see all the speeds. So that was dancing on Kalamandalam stage before, during my Bharatanatyam Arangetram. During Mohiniyattam Arangetram, they didn't fix it, but they put a carpet on top. So little bit it was more comfortable. Those stones still not perfect, but I was chill about it. I'm having like 10 girls around me, and we're like a lot of girl power, you know, we're all coming out. And first was Varnam, and it went very nicely, and I just love this kind of progression of the feelings of the girl, and how she starts to get being shot by Kamadeva with the arrows, and she's like crying and no, and then collapses on the ground. So this kind of dramatism, even though you can't express full dramatism being in the group because you need to be uniform, but still this kind, I don't know, I just received pleasure from it. And then the padam, of course, and I actually never got video from that Arangetram, so I can't show you. Maybe I'll try to reach to the girls and try to get it from them. But now I don't have any videos. I have a couple of photos. You can have a look. But yeah, it was like, I felt good after doing it. And you know, it was like totally different story. And even Ian, who watched it, he told me, yeah, you looked like, you know, somebody who actually studied together with these girls, who practiced together with these girls. And it's a big compliment, I guess, because these girls study for many years, and they study in the hostel, they live together, so they attune to each other's movement. So still in Mohiniyattam, everyone's movement is very individual, but if you practice long time together, like for years and years and years, you kind of synchronize, right? So I managed to get this synchronization even just practicing with them for a couple of months. And so, yes, so that was my second Arangetram. And after Arangetram, I received this thing. I'm gonna show you. Actually, my teacher told me that I should be grateful for having 2 Arangetrams, because in the history of Kalamandalam there is hardly anyone, maybe was somebody, I don't know, who did twice. Usually like 1-time Arangetram is one lifetime memory. So I had 2, and unfortunately I lost my Bharatanatyam Arangetram sin. I think I just wanted to erase this traumatic memory. But for Mohiniyattam they gave me this. I guess it should be written something like Irina. Is it written Irina? Or is it written Lakshmi? I hope they didn't make a mistake. Please tell me it's written Irina. Kalamandalam Irina, I don't know. Now they are not putting this prefix near their name, but before, after Arangetram, they could put that. But in any case, yes. So that's a memory, and I have a good memory from my Mohiniyattam Arangetram, and we were in tune with musicians this time, and I finally felt good about myself. So yes, to draw a conclusion, I want to say that you can decide, you can express your opinion. I would like to hear your opinion. What do you think? Is Arangetram an important part? Is it not an important part? Should it be somehow adapted to new reality to to make it less commercial, or make it more individual? Or should people try to stick to the tradition, even though the tradition is not that ancient? We already know it's been altered, right? So please share your experience. How was your Arangetram? Do you have good memories? Did you feel good about your performance? And did you continue with the dance after that, or it took you a while to go back into dance, or you stopped dancing but you keep all these cherishable memories? And I really hope to hear back from you and see you back on my channel. And lots of hugs and love. Namaste.